Good morning, student. This now we will learn software process. Up still we have learned what do you mean by software engineering, what is the software engineering, it is how the different activities is performed in software, what do you mean by software engineering. Now we will learn software process. What do you mean by software processes? The software process is a set of related activities that lead to the production of software product. This activity may involve the development of software from scratch in a standard programming language like C and Java. Means what a set of activity that we will do while developing a software is called software process. There are different types of software process. First is your prescriptive process. What do you mean by a prescriptive process? The prescriptive process model define the distinct set of activities, actions, tasks, milestone, and work products that are required to engineer high quality software. These process models are not perfect, but they do provide a useful roadmap for software engineering work. That is called prescriptive process model. ठीक है. Who does it? उसको कौन बनाता है? सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोसेस जो है प्रिस्क्रिप्टिव प्रोसेस से कौन बनाता है? Who does it? The software engineers and the manager adapt a prescriptive process model to their need and then follow it. In addition, the people who are requested the software have a role to play as a process model is followed. Next, why this process is important? If you are defining the process, then it should have certain importance. Na? So what is the importance of software process? Importance is that because it provides stability, control, and organization to an activity that can, if left uncontrolled, become quite. Some have referred to prescriptive process model as rigorous process model because they oftenly encompasses the capability suggested by the CMMI. CMMI means what? Capability, maturity, model integrity. However, every process model must be adapted so that it can be effectively for specific software projects. These are the importance why we are applying the process. Next, what are the different steps will be applied while software process will be? The process guide a software team through a set of framework activity that are organized into a process flow that may be linear, incremental, or evolutionary. Terminologies and details of each process model different, but the generic framework activity remain reliable constants. This will all about the software process. What do you mean by software process? The first is prescriptive process model. We have learned why it is important, who does it, and what are the different steps. Okay. These are the many different software process. One is software specification. The functionality of the software and the constructs on the operation must be defined. Means we should define the process activity of software development. Second, software design and implementation. The software to meet the specification must be produced. Means what for what purpose we are developing the software? It should meet the specification. The third one is the software validation. The software must be validated to ensure that it does what the customer wants. Means what we are developing the software should meet the customer need. Next, software evolution. The software must be involved to meet the changing customer needs. Means the software should be developed in such a way that it should be an very adaptable to changes, or it should be a very acceptable to changes. Software process models. There are these generic models are not defective description of software processes rather than they are the abstraction of the process that can be used to explain the different approaches to software development. Means what abstraction is defining only what we need to a customer, but how we are developing, what are the attributes we are using, this is our these things are not to be visible to a customer will only have a clear view or a desktop view of applications. Okay. That's why the abstraction of the process that can be used to explain the different approaches to software development. You can think of them as a framework that may be extended and adapted to create more specific software engineering process. There are the different process models. Just already we learn perspective process model, generic process model. Okay, we will learn one by one. The first one is your waterfall model. So this is a first basic model of software development process. What do you mean by waterfall models? There are a time when the requirement of a problem are reasonable, well understood, when workflows from communication through development in a responsible linear fashion. This situation is sometimes encountered when well-defined adaptations or enhancement of an existing system must be made. For example, an adaptation to an accounting software that may be mandated because of changes to a government regulation. It may also concern it may also occur in a limited number of new development effort, but only when the requirements are well defined and reasonable stable. The waterfall model, sometimes called classic life cycle, suggests a systematic sequential approach to software development that being with the customer specification of requirement and processes through planning, modeling, construction, and deployment, culminating into ongoing support that complete software. The waterfall model is the oldest paradigm for software engineering. However, over the past 2 decades, criticism of this process model has caused even adherent support to the questions its efficiency. Among the problems that are sometimes encountered when the waterfall model is applied are the real projects rarely follows the sequential flow that the model possesses. AI through a linear models can implement iteration. It does so directly as the result changes confusion as the project team proceed. These are the different pages: requirement definition, software system and software design, implementation and unit. Okay. The second problem, it oftenly difficult for the customer to state all requirement explicitly. The waterfall model required this and has a difficulties accommodating the nature uncertainty that exists at the beginning of the many projects. The customer must have a patience at working versions of the programs will not be able until late in the project time span. A major builder if underrated until the working program is reviewed and can be distinguished. In an interesting analysis of a actual project found in a true world of the blocking state. Okay, this is all about the waterfall model. In a simple way to understand waterfall model, these are the different phases: requirement definition, system and software design, implementation and unit testing, integration and system testing, operations and maintenance. The main drawback of this phase is that if we introduce in one phase, until one phase is completed, we cannot go to the second phases. This is the main drawback of waterfall model. Next, incremental model. As we learn that if the software project is very big, at that time what we do, we divide the projects into a number of increments. Or if suppose if you want only the basic thing in the first version of your software, as we are using the first versions, we will we will suggest certain modification and we will move in the second versions, we will have certain updation in a first version. The such types of software will become in incremental development models. Okay. So what do you mean by incremental model? Incremental model combines the elements of waterfall model applied in an iterative fashion. The incremental model applies linear sequence in a strategy fashion as a calendar time process. Each linear sequence produces derivable increment of the software. For example, word processing software using the incremental paradigm might deliver basic file management, editing, and document production function in a first increment. More sophisticated editing and document production capability in a second increment. Spelling and grammar checking in third increment, and advanced page layout capability in your fourth increment. It should be noted that the process flow for any incremental may incorporate the prototyping paradigm as discussed. When the incremental model is used, the first increment is oftenly the core product. That is the basic requirement are addressed, but the supplementary features known or other unknown remains undelivered. The core product is used by the customer or undergoes detailed evolution. As a result of use and or evolution, the plan is developed for the next increment. The plan addresses the modification of the core product to better meet the need of the customer and delivered to the additional features and functionality. This process is repeated following the delivery of each increment until the complete product is produced. The incremental process model, like prototyping and other evolutionary process, is iterative in nature. But unlike prototyping, the incremental model focuses on the delivery of the operational produce with each increment. Earlier increment is a stripped down versions and of the final product, but they do provide capability that service user and also provide a platform for evaluation by the user. Incremental development is a particular useful when staffing is unavailable for the complete implementation by business deadline that has been established for the project. The early increment can be implemented with fewer people if the core product is well received. Additional staff can be added to implement the next increment. In addition, incremental can plan to manage technical risks. For example, a major system might be required the capability of new hardware, and this it might be possible each increment in a way that avoid the use of this hardware functionality to be delivered to the end user without a delay. This is all about the incremental development. Incremental development has a three important benefit as compared to waterfall model. The first one is the cost of accommodating changes customer require is reduced. Since we can reduce the customer requirement. Second was it is easier to get the customer feedback on the development work that has been done. Means what? If we are making overall software, then customer will be very easy to use it. And if you have any difficulty, then he will suggest the modification and we can do in a incremental model. The third is more rapid delivery and development of the useful to customer is possible. Reuse oriented software engineering. These are the different components in a reuse software engineering. That is the requirement specification, component analysis, requirement modification, system design with reuse, development and integration, and system validation. In the requirement specification, we will give the specification of the requirement. In component analysis, we will analyze the components by taking the requirements. We will do the modification. We will use the reuse component and system validate. There are the three different types of software component that can be used in reuse component. One is web services that are developed according to the service standards and which are applicable for remote evolution. Second was collection of objects that are developed as package, like .NET and JEE. Standalone software systems that configure the particular environment. This is all about the software processes. Thank you.